You actually started playing golf, I think, at 16, is that right?
Yep, very late bloomer. But growing up in Australia, I did surfboarding, surfing, cricket. I was in athletics. I was a swimmer. I played a lot of rugby. I played lots of rules, but never golf. And my father moved towns one time. Went from a town called Townsville down to Brisbane, and I left all my mates who were behind. And at that time, my mother was a very good player. She played off about 3 handicap, and one day I decided to go out and caddy for her just to kill time because I had no friends around. And I figured my mother, who was like 5'4" and 100-pound wringing wet, that if she could play the game that well, I could play the game. So while she went into the clubhouse, I took her clubs out for 4 holes, and that's the end of the story.
And within, I think, 5 or 6 years, you were already playing as a successful athlete, amateur.
Yeah, I mean, I did. I was very, very lucky, and maybe my genes. My father was very much a strong, very athletic man. My mom obviously had the good genes in her body, and I inherited it. I picked up things very, very quickly. I love the challenge of the individualistic side of the sport, where you get out of it what you put into it. And I just accelerated down, really, because the handicap comes down. It doesn't go up. I accelerated down to a scratch, and then I became a big believer in my ability to play.
When you were getting better at golf and starting to play professionally, did you ever think about your life after golf?
No, not at all. You know, it's interesting when I was fortunate enough to get to be the #1 player in the world. And getting to that level, there's only one #1, there's a bunch of #2s, there's hundreds of #3s, and there's thousands of everybody else. But when you're #1, and you're willing to accept that responsibility, not only for what you do on the golf course, but what you do off the golf course, and how you represent the game, how you represent yourself, how you represent your country, how do you represent the corporations you're endorsed, because there's a lot of consumers out there who would buy those soft goods and hard goods. And why would they buy those soft goods, hard goods? Is it because of my endorsement of that product? So I learned a lot of being at #1 player in the world, and I learned a lot about responsibility. So that all morphed into something later on in life, where I believed that when I got to a certain age, I didn't want to be a ceremonial golfer. I wanted it to transition into another world. You see a lot of golfers, you see a lot of athletes, for that matter, disappear into the sunset, and you never see them again because they didn't have another place to go. I recognized, because of my popularity, I had already been nicknamed the Great White Shark. That kind of stuck with the general public out there. And I was a global player, and that gave me the opportunity to expand.
For people that are not from the golf arena or don't necessarily know, why did you get that nickname?
Well, in 1981, I was leading the U.S. Masters Championship. In 1981, I was really a nobody. I just turned professional 4.5 years earlier, and I had won a few tournaments around the world, but nothing in the United States. I got an exemption into the Masters Championship, which is played in April. One of the 4 major championships in the game of golf. And I'm leading up to 36 holes, and the media invite me to the media room, and they say, "Who are you?" basically, and my blonde hair, and I was very aggressive with my style of golf. And I wake up Saturday morning, and the Atlanta Constitution had the Great White Shark leading U.S. Masters, and that's how it started. It's stuck ever since then, and here we are today.
At what point did you decide, okay, my branding and the licensing is getting to a point where I actually need to create some kind of enterprise to manage this?
Well, it wasn't really the branding or the licensing. I was with the management company at the time. My contract time period was coming up, and I sat back and I looked at it, and I studied other great iconic players, Jack Nicklaus and Arnold Palmer, and I saw that they went in two separate paths, and I saw there was a bit of a void in the middle. So I didn't re-sign with my management company. And the reason why I didn't re-sign is because, when you're an endorsement...
This is IMG, right?
This is IMG. When you're an endorsement player, you're really a pass-through entity. I mean, you'll come to me if you're representing a company and say, "Okay, Greg, I'm going to sign you to a 3-year contract with a 2-year option, or a 5-year deal with a 2-year option." And really, so there's an end to it all. And you really can't build value in yourself. You're building value in the company you're asked to endorse. They pay you a lot of money, yes. But I saw the opportunity there for me to, because of my nickname, because of the design of the logo, I saw this opportunity. So I made a gutsy move.
So you decided to actually build your team, and you put your own money in. How much did it cost to actually kind of start that? What was the overhead initially? And you bootstrapped it. You had endorsements already. You used your own money.
First of all, you got to find good human resources. How do you find good human resources? Only by the contacts you knew from the people you're around.
How do you trust them? Especially when you've already built a name.
Yeah, but how do you trust anything or anyone, really? You've got to be like-minded in your belief. Probably the litmus test for me for when I interviewed people for the potential job was, do they understand long-term vision? Are they patient enough to build something to get to an exit strategy, which is not 3 years down the line, 5 years down the line. It could be 7, it could be 15, it could be 20. Very few people have that long-term goal, and very few people have the ability to say, okay, I trust you, Greg, this is where we're going to go, I'm coming on board, and I'm going to forego everything else.
The financial details of running a diverse multinational operation when we come back.